Hi and welcome to Love TV. So Fridays on Love TV is Free Talk Fridays. What does that mean? That means I can talk about whatever I want. And it also includes interviews with incredible people. So while I was in Kauai, I had the pleasure of doing a interview with somebody who is very inspiring to me. I've learned a lot from, and I really wanted to share with you this important, valuable information. So without me talking anymore right now, let's pass it over to our interview. And this is in 3 parts, so make sure you're subscribed if you want to see the rest of this interview. Enjoy. I'm here today with my dear friend and amazing physicist, Nassim Haramein.
I'm happy we're doing this together. I've got so much things going on right now. New papers, some really amazing physics that are emerging, working on hardware and all sorts of really exciting stuff. So, I think we're living in a really important time. Everything is changing, and I'm really looking forward to the next few weeks, the next few months. If I have to kind of summarize it, I wrote a unified view of physics, and basically a unified view of how reality creates itself. And this view says that everything is really talking to everything else, and it's talking to everything else through the medium that we call space, that we call the vacuum, the space between you and me, the space between ourselves, the space between the electron clouds and the nuclei of an atom, the space inside the nuclei, the proton, and so on, is full of energy. And we think of it as empty because it's everywhere, so we don't see any differences. So we think the space between you and I is empty, but actually we know it's not. For instance, there's all sorts of electromagnetic waves going on. If I grab the radio and I tune the little crystal inside the radio to a certain frequency, all of a sudden a voice would come out, right? That voice is in the space, being carried by electromagnetic fields. Well, in quantum theory, when you look close at the atomic structure, when we look close at the nuclei and the relationship of the space inside the atom, we find that it's full of electromagnetic fields, it's full of energy. And it's not trivial, the amount of energy that's there. It's very, very high. It's a very, very high number. In fact, there is more energy by many, many orders of magnitude in a centimeter cube of space than in all of the observable universe we see today. So like if we took all the stars in the universe and all the galaxies and everything we see, all the atoms, and we squash them all into a centimeter cube of space, it'd be pretty dense, right? That would be about 10 to the 55th grams per centimeter cube, which is 39 orders of magnitude less than the amount of energy in the vacuum that's already present in electromagnetic fields. And you might say, well, how can that be? Why can't I feel it?
Right.
For the same reason that you can't feel the radio waves until you have an object or something is tuned directly to it, and then all of a sudden you can hear it.
Right.
So through this medium, everything speaks to everything else.
So it's kind of like a web, like the internet, but on a different level, and it speaks the language of our body, and our body then speaks the language of the universe.
Right. One of the really incredible calculation I made that came out like amazingly was that when I calculated how much of these electromagnetic fluctuations, which you could think of as little bits of information, was present inside the nucleus of an atom, which is a beady, teeny little space, right? It turns out that is the equivalent in mass to the whole universe. So all the other atoms in the universe are represented in terms of information inside the one atom. And so it is like a huge web of, you could call them micro wormhole structure.
Right.
And it is all talking to each other.
Right.
And since our body is made of these things,
Yes.
we are part of this web. And it's not just our body, everything else, the table, the chair, everything else, it's all talking continuously. And, you know, it's like, in some ways, because it's happening at such speed and it's happening at such high energy level, at such high frequency and so on, we're kind of oblivious to it. We have a moment of, you know, consciousness of it, or an illumination of it, or maybe we see things that we didn't think was possible, like a chi master, or you know, a kahuna, or, you know, manipulating what they may call the chi, or manipulating what they call the mana or something, and then all of a sudden you realize, wow, they're acting on this structure. They're changing, they're interacting with the talking. And so, you know, I think that becoming conscious that this is occurring is critical to our capacity to transform, grow, and not only in terms of our health or in terms of our philosophy, but in terms of our technology, in terms of our capability to survive on this planet with some limited resources. I mean, there is such a huge amount of energy available. There's really no reason for us to think there's not enough for everybody. And so on. So technologically, it has huge implications as well. And it could really bring our society to a whole new level of interacting with the universe and understanding ourselves, understanding each other, and, you know, bringing our society into a state of abundance and harmony with nature.
So as we can actually start to feel the actual scientific truth of what exists. I mean, this is scientifically shown that there's infinite energy within the space that we're just not aware of, and we're acting like there isn't enough and there isn't enough energy, and living out these patterns. And then, you know, it's interesting because, you know, there are many people who talk about the universe and talking to the universe, but if it's missing the understanding of the actual scientific facts of it, it's also an illusion. Right.
It becomes similar to a dogma in religion, like when people say everything is one. Well, how is it? How is it one? How is it that this table and I are one? Right. Well, it doesn't look like me. It doesn't act like me. It doesn't even move. You know, it doesn't appear to move. Although all the atoms in it are moving, you know, and everything else, so it's not apparent to me. But the thing is that the vacuum between me and the table, and between you and me and this channel, is all connected through this network. So all is one starts to make sense. It is one because it's all talking. It's all part of the same information network. It's all part of the same structure, which is the space that connects all things.
So it's kind of like, you know, when I have my phone and I'm accessing the internet, it's not that I'm going out there to get all of the information, it's this device is transmitting it kind of in.
Mm-hmm.
So when we say, like, you know, go inwards and all the answers are inwards and it's all connected, but it really is in here.
Right. It starts to give validity
Right.
to all these spiritual concepts that, you know, otherwise are floating in midair.
Right.
They may be true,
Mhm.
but if we don't understand the mechanics on how they're true,
Right.
then they're just dogmas.
Right, and then
And-
they can get warped.
That's right. And then as well, it's difficult to understand how to get there.
Mhm.
You know, we got the car,
Right.
but we don't know how to run it
Right.
because we don't understand. Okay, you gotta press on the gas now. You
Mhm.
gotta press on the brake now. You gotta turn the wheel. You know, so you know, like saying it's all inside of you is like saying, well, you know, you getting to the supermarket is
Right.
is possible in the car, but
Right.
not telling you how to drive there.
Right.
So how do you get there? How do you get to all these answers?
Right.
Right? You gotta understand the mechanics
Right.
on how that feedback occurs. It starts to explain as well things like that may seem like voodoo or
Right.
you know, like really irrational, like how people can have precognition or remote viewing, you know, like being able to see what's going on in another location, things like that, that seems really, you know, esoteric and ungrounded and all this.
Right.
Then you start to realize, wait, you know, here's a mechanism
Mhm.
in which, yes, it is possible for you to, you know, remote view what's going on over there because it's the information is present within you.
Right.
And when you look at people that are able to do those things, and many studies were done, like for instance with remote viewing, very, very significant, high, you know, well, you know, executed studies that showed that it's this non-trivial statistic result that, you know, remote viewing do occur.
Mhm.
Now, you know, all of a sudden it makes sense. You
Right.
know, the information is there. When the remote viewers remote view, they don't go remotely.
Right.
They go in,
Right.
right? And within, they access the information of what's going on over there.
So that was part 1 of 3. If you want to see parts 2 and 3, they get very juicy, lots more important, insightful, incredible content. So make sure you're subscribed on YouTube for that. Also come over to laurahamesfranklin.com and jump on my list there so that you can get the best tools to start experiencing this in your body. I will see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Bye.